Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we are doing my October favorites. I got a lot to discuss today, so let's get into it. Also, yes, I do realize I'm wearing a very bold makeup look for only wearing a band tee, but whatever, it is what it is. Okay, so let's get into it, starting with makeup. When I have worn makeup this month, it's been very purpose driven. It's been either for testing makeup for a blog post or doing Halloween makeup, so I haven't really worn a lot on the day today. But one of my favorites this month has been the Kash Beauty Secret Treasure palette. Whenever I do wear eyeshadow, I always reach for this one. I do have a full review on this palette. It is my Kash Beauty video. You can go watch it if you want more in-depth more in-depth information about this. I also have a blog post about it, but in summary, I think that the color story is really, it's unique in the sense that it's very like gold tone, but at the same time it's still very wearable. I can wear this every single day. I really like wearing fade all over the lid. Same with Treasure and Gemstone, but then it also does have the darker shades that I can use to do a more smokier look. I use some of the darker shades when doing my Halloween makeup look, and yeah, I just think it's a pretty good quality palette. Speaking of Halloween makeup, I've been using these a lot to do my makeup looks. These are Colourp Creme Gel eyeliners. I have the shade Exit, which is the white, and what are you called? Venus, which is the red. I know, kind of random colors for me to pick, but they're so good. I definitely want to pick up more colors in these eyeliners. They're extremely pigmented for being a colored liner, but they're so easy to apply. They glide on very smoothly and I don't really have to fight with them. Especially white can be really hard to get that like bright white. Mine is starting to get a little dried out, probably just because I have a habit of like leaving the lid off. I really like these. There's so many fun shades. So if you guys are into colored liner, I highly recommend you check them out. And then an unfavorite this month is this lash glue. So if you remember, I tested out the Kash Beauty lashes and I really struggled to put a lot of them on, and then I got this pair of lashes from BoxyCharm, and then I recently repurchased my favorite Ardell Wispies and I struggled to put those on, and that's kind of when it clicked of, oh, maybe it's not the lashes, maybe it's my lash glue. So I recently finished my favorite one and I decided to pick up, this is the Duo Brush On Adhesive. So my all-time favorite lash glue is this Duo one. Same brand, so you think they would both be good, but they're not. This is a Duo Strip Adhesive, clear white. So the packaging on this one is kind of annoying because you gotta like squeeze it out. That's why I thought getting the brush tip one would be easier, but the formula is so different. So you open it up and so you have your brush, so you can just brush your lash. So you would think that would be easy, right? But the issue is that somehow the glue doesn't make the lashes stick. My inner corners and outer corners were always popping off, but then at the same time I would take off my lashes and there would be glue crusted on forever. Like, it was so hard for me to pick it off. So it was kind of like the worst of the worst. It didn't work and it wouldn't come off, versus this one works really well. My lashes always stay stick down and it's so easy to come off. So if you're at the drugstore and need a lash glue, skip this one, get this one instead. And now moving on to a fashion favorite. I've been kind of wearing a lot of the same stuff. I've been trying to get all of my wear possible out of my fall clothes, but it's gotten cold enough for me to wear my trench coat. So I'll insert a clip here of what it looks like. And I got this coat from H&M. I did feature it in my fall haul. It is a trench coat, but it's a little different because it's a taupe color and it's also a suede material. So I like how it's a classic style, but it's a little different. So I feel unique, but it's also like still like basic enough that I can wear it with a lot of different outfits. The material is really great because it has a little bit of stretch to it, so that means I can wear it with like thicker pieces and I'm not like super tight. It's not necessarily like the warmest thing, so I definitely like to wear warmer pieces underneath it, but it's super cute. So it's perfect for this time of year before it's like freezing and 0, but it's not warm enough that you can't wear a coat outside. And yeah, I think it's super stylish. I got lots of compliments when I was wearing it. It reminds me of like those like classic like Pinterest outfits that you see online of like girls with a trench coat. So yeah, I feel so stylish in it. Okay, and then up next is books and TV shows. I have a lot to go through with these, so I have a feeling that this is going to be the long portion of the video. If you remember from my September favorites, I've been reading the Throne of Glass series and I finished it this month. This was Tower of Dawn, and then Kingdom of Ash is the very last book. And oh my god, guys, like I haven't felt the same since I finished the series. Not to be dramatic, but it's such a good series. I'm just gonna cut to the chase and I give this series 5 out of 5. If you like fantasy, I highly recommend that you read this. And I would describe it as the YA version of Game of Thrones. There's a lot of similarities, but there are some really key differences. So first of all, it is a completely made up world. There's a lot of magical elements. There's a lot more magic in this book than Game of Thrones, but there's fairies, there's witches, there's dragons, like magic, like I said. Similar to Game of Thrones as well, in the later books there's a huge cast of characters. So you do have your like principal characters, but you meet more and more and you switch point of views throughout the whole entire series. So you know, you have, everyone has different favorites. There's also a lot of romance like Game of Thrones. I would definitely say that it's pretty like PG-13 until Empire of Storms, which is the one before this one. That's where it kind of gets like R-rated a little bit more, but I'm totally fine with that. On Book Talk they call it spicy. Oh, and then also similar to Game of Thrones, the later books are more war based. So that is kind of like one of the drawbacks for me, is that I don't like war based books as much. I much more prefer like court intrigue. So that's just something to keep in mind if you don't like war books. The last couple of ones are more war based, but at the same time these are just so good, and in a similar way to Game of Thrones that you really get connected to a lot of the characters. So obviously in the last season with it, in the last book with it being a war, a lot of people die, so there's lots of tears. I cried so much while reading this book. Actually, one of my most popular TikToks right now is a video of like a compilation of me crying while reading this book. I just got so attached to all of the characters. I mean, there's lots of like happy moments as well. There's a lot of romance. There's just like, you're like, oh my god, true love. Like that kind of makes me tear up as well. But yes, one of the differences though compared to Game of Thrones is that there's so many amazing female characters in this series. Like Game of Thrones, there are a few, but there are like some issues kind of thing, but like this book is like chock full of badass female characters, and I just love, there's so much character development throughout the whole entire series that you like hate people and then you like people again and then you hate them, you like change your feelings, and that's just like how people are. People change. I think it's pretty good. There are some issues in the series. If you want to know more about my issues and also my feelings overall about the series, I have a super long blog post on my blog where I talk about the series as a whole, and then I also break down my thoughts on every single book. So if you've read the series before, you can read that and kind of see my personal thoughts and opinions on a lot of the things. So that's it, guys. You will not hear me blab on and on and on about this anymore. Or maybe you will. That's it. I'm done. I love these books. So obviously those books took up a large portion of time. I had a little bit of a book hangover where I was like, I don't want to read anything else. I did though. So if you guys watch my vlogs, you might have seen that I picked up a bunch of classics, and one of them being Frankenstein. The main reason why I picked them up is because the covers are so gorgeous. Like, just look at this. And they're all like similar style to this. So because it is October, I decided to read Frankenstein. Now, I haven't read a lot of classics. It's just, I've read a couple in school and that's about it. It isn't something that I naturally reach towards in my own spare time, so I'm not exactly very used to the classic style. And because of that, I'm not sure if problems I had with this book is classics in general or this specific book. I guess I'll kind of know once I read more classics. I find it really interesting to read the story because I have heard of Frankenstein before, but I didn't really know what the story actually was. I haven't really seen, like, everyone kind of knows that like Frankenstein is like a monster, which, by the way, Frankenstein is actually the name of the inventor, not the actual monster, if you don't know that. But in pop culture, the monster is Frankenstein. So like I just know that Frankenstein is a monster that was like created and is like ugly and generally like mean, like kind of thing. So that's all I kind of really knew about it. So I did find it super interesting to actually read the actual story and understand what it's about, and it's a lot different than what the story is in pop culture. But I would say my biggest complaint is that I wasn't very engaged while reading the novel. I fell asleep twice while reading it. Like not fully nodded off. I also sometimes had the habit of taking phone breaks, which is not something I usually do. But like I would read like for 15 minutes and take a phone break because I just wasn't engaged. The story just didn't suck me in. I don't know whether that's like just the style of writing, like because of the time period, or just like Shelley's personal writing. Besides me not really being engaged, it's hard to say because sometimes I predicted the plot to it, like the twist or what happened, and then other times I didn't. Like I would say of like all of the major twists, like half of them I predicted and the other half I didn't, so that's not bad. I personally don't mind if a book is predictable. I love when a book isn't predictable, but it's not something that I take away points for predictability. But it's just something I like to mention because I know some people don't like reading predictable books. I will say that this book really isn't that scary by modern standards. Probably back then it was really scary, and there is death in this novel, like people do get killed and murdered, but by modern standards I wasn't scared. But it is something you have to keep in mind that like at the time it was revolutionary, I guess. But I did like the ending of the novel. I thought it was a good way to kind of end and summarize everything. I'm not sure if everyone would like the ending, but I kind of did. So overall I give this novel a 3 out of 5. Loved the concept. It was interesting to actually know what the story was, but I wasn't very engaged. And if all classics are like this, then well, I'm doomed because I got 10 more. Okay, and now finally TV. I managed to watch a decent amount of TV. 2 shows with my mom and 1 by myself. So first I watched Next in Fashion with my mother. Next in Fashion is a fashion competition show that is on Netflix. It's been out for a while. I've heard of it because there is a Canadian on the TV show, and he is from Hamilton, which is where I went to school. So I saw it being mentioned in the paper when it initially came out, but I hadn't watched it yet. So it's basically just like a design competition show. They get a challenge and they have to design usually some category or style of clothing, and then they have to create something, some piece, usually more than one, for it. I really liked all of the challenges. I thought they were all really unique, and yeah, I loved a lot of the pieces that designers created. But I did have some issues. First, the first half of the show, all the designers in pairs, and I get kind of why they do that because they wanted to introduce more characters and have that like dynamic, I guess. But I just found it so annoying because I found that usually the designers who knew people, who were partnered with someone they knew, they generally all did better. So I thought that was an unfair advantage, and so often like they would get into a fight and then they didn't do well. So like I might have liked the designer individually, but then they got like pulled down by their team member, which I didn't think was fair. And then I also didn't like that it's basically one big challenge. So I understand that because it's design and it takes a while to design and construct clothing, but because of that it kind of like dragged on, where it's just like they're trying to fill 40 minutes, but like they probably could have done a half-an-hour episode and I would have been happy. I found that the timing was sometimes dragged on a little bit, but overall I liked it. If you like design and fashion, I highly recommend. And Daniel, I'm in love with him. Oh, so beautiful. And I really like who won. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I really liked who won. And then after that, another Netflix competition show, we watched Design Masters. How it works is that they have all of these interior designers, they give them a series of competitions, and then they have a winner at the end. This one, I didn't mind that there were like a lot of team challenges, but like sometimes they worked individually because I think it does make a lot more sense. Like, and it's also a little easier because a lot of times they would have like a house and people would design individual rooms. I liked all of the challenges. I thought they were all like super creative, but I also didn't like the majority of the designers' style, and I think that's just, everyone has very personal taste when it comes to interior design, and most of them were not it for me. Oh, and the same complaint that I have for Next in Fashion is that I found because they had one big challenge, it kind of just dragged on a little bit, and I personally would have liked just a little bit shorter of an episode, or vice versa, add in mini challenges to kind of fill up the show a little bit more. And I also didn't really like who won, but that's just my personal taste. Okay, and then up next by myself, I watched Emily in Paris. This actually took me so long to watch, considering the fact it's only 10 episodes and they're half an hour long. I know a lot of people binged it within a couple of days, but I am slow and steady when I watch TV by myself, mainly because I like to divide my TV watching. Like, I usually come up to my room and I have like an hour and a half before I go to bed, so I generally only watch one episode and then I read a bit. And since I was trying to finish the Throne of Glass series, I was focusing more on reading than watching TV, but I did finish it and I loved it. You guys know me, I love cheesy. I will take it. I love W movies, so I personally am not bothered at all about the cheesiness of it, the predictability of it. Like, I thought it was so fun. It's great for a little break from reality. I get that a lot of the issues that people have with the show, oh, which by the way, the synopsis is that Emily is an American marketer and she gets a chance to move and work in Paris at a French agency for a year, but the whole entire thing is that she doesn't know French and she doesn't know a lot of the culture. So you have a stereotypical American working with a bunch of stereotypical French people. And I know that a lot of the people don't really like the stereotypes that are being portrayed, that like it puts French people in a very negative light, but I think you almost need to view it in the lens of a parody because they're so stereotypical that like you have to realize that like it's just so much. Yes, there are people probably like these stereotypes, but that doesn't mean that like everyone is like these stereotypes. I think you just need to take it that it's almost a parody, that like they're going so far to the extreme that this is not what real life is about, and you don't want to watch real life, you want to escape it. That's what this show is. It's escapism because it's set in Paris, so the viewer gets to see Paris, and it's mainly for a North American audience who are currently stuck at home during a pandemic and can't go to Paris, but they can live through Emily while she's in Paris. I also like seeing the fashion. I think sometimes her outfits are like a little questionable, but I do think that there's like things you can pick and choose that I really liked from her outfits. And yeah, the only thing though is that I couldn't see myself, like, say if there was 5 seasons of this, I would probably get bored watching it all in a row. I'm kind of happy that I watched it with this first season, and then once they release another season I could like watch it. I think watching too much of it will get too much, but watching one season, it's short, it's sweet, it's fun. I'm also not much of a binge watcher, if you couldn't tell. So those are all my favorites for the month of October. It's been a crazy month doing Vlogtober. I feel like I've been filming all of the time, so you probably have heard of me talk about a lot of these favorites, but I thought I would still share them. Please let me know in the comments any of your favorites, especially TV show recommendations. I'm always looking for new TV shows to watch. You can leave me books, but I do have a very large TBR list. Physical books and also on my Goodreads, but I'll gladly take more. Just might take me a while to get to them. That is it, guys. I can't believe October is done and it's basically like Christmas time. I don't know if you guys seen, but on W Network they're literally starting playing Christmas movies on November 1st. Crazy. I don't mind because I absolutely love Christmas, and because Canadian Thanksgiving is in October, I think November is kind of boring without anything, so I'm definitely getting into the Christmas vibe. Usually I kind of try and like hold back until American Thanksgiving, like so around the end of November, and then go like all out. But yes, I'm very excited for Christmas this year. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So that's it. I'll see you in the last of Vlogtober, and then we'll be going back to just my Sunday videos. Maybe a few vlogs sprinkled in. Okay, that's it. Bye!